Hey guys, you're watching the Gregorio Girls Makeup channel. If you're new, welcome. My name is Devin. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you'll consider sticking around and subscribing. And if you're not new, you probably are noticing that we are in a completely different setup from any of my other videos. So let's address that. So we are actually here in my apartment in the lovely city of Philadelphia. Since I've moved here and since it takes me about an hour each way to go home, I really was trying to figure out a way that I could start filming in my apartment. So I got a ring light, I brought the camera down here, and this is what it's gonna be. So that's that. So it's definitely gonna be a work in progress as I kind of figure out my setup and my lighting. So now that that is out of the way, today's video is going to be on this palette right here. I actually want to do a video comparing swatches of the eyeshadows in this palette to swatches of eyeshadows that I have in my other Anastasia palettes. I don't have every single palette that Anastasia has ever come out with, but I definitely have enough. They are my favorite eyeshadows, so I like to collect as many as I can. But I do have enough to compare the shades to the shades in this palette. So here are all the shades in the Amrezy palette. This is the newest palette that Anastasia has dropped. And when it first dropped, I have to say, I was a little bit underwhelmed by it. And I felt like we weren't really seeing anything new. And then as I was reading comments and watching videos and stuff like that, I feel like there was a lot of chatter. I've just seen a lot of conversations going on about whether or not you need to buy this palette if you have other Anastasia palettes, because some of the colors look very similar to other colors and other palettes that Anastasia has already come out with. So I thought it would be fun to do some swatches and do some side-by-side comparisons of the different palettes and just see if we agree with that statement or not. Do you need this palette? Do you not need it if you have other palettes? Who knows? Let's figure it out. So if that is something that you are interested in seeing, let's get right into it. So I'm gonna start off here with the Modern Renaissance palette. You can see how dirty and old this is. And this is actually Shauna's palette, but she let me borrow it for the purposes of this video. So here we are. Here are the two palettes kind of stacked on top of each other. So at a first glance, you can definitely see that there are a lot of similar warm tones in this palette, especially in the mattes. So definitely a few similar shades here. So what I want to go ahead and do now is just swatch them on my arm and see how they actually compare. So first we're gonna do Semsa from the Amrezy palette and Love Letter from Modern Renaissance. So I would say they're definitely similar, but I would say that the Love Letter is definitely slightly deeper than this one. This one's a little bit lighter, a little bit pinkier. This one is a little bit deeper, and it's got, in my opinion, a little bit more purple in it. Next, I'm gonna swatch OG from the Amrezy palette. Wow, that's beautiful. And then I'm going to take Burnt Orange right next to that. So again, I do think that they are very similar. They are not the same. There's a slight difference. This one from the Amrezy palette seems to be just a little bit more orange to me. And this one, Burnt Orange, seems to just be a little bit more neutral. It's just a little bit more of a muted orange. I'm like, ah, peekaboo. Yeah, but again, very similar, just not quite the same. But I feel like if you were blending them, applying them on your eye and blending them out, I don't know that you would be able to tell much of a difference. Next up, we've got New Yorker from the Amrezy palette. And then we've got Raw Sienna from the Modern Renaissance palette. So again, I would say that the shade from the Amrezy palette right here, New Yorker, is just a little bit more orange. It's a little bit more pigmented. And then I would say that Raw Sienna pulls a little bit more neutral. But even you can see like all four of these shades. I think they're great transition shades for a lot of people, but they're all very similar. I mean, yeah. And then lastly, I want to take the shade Cypress Umber from the Modern Renaissance Modern Renaissance palette, not shade. And I actually want to compare this to two of the brown shades that are in the Amrezy palette. So first I'm going to pick up that color Hugo that I was talking about before. And I'm going to swatch that on top. And then also from the Amrezy palette, I am going to take the shade 1988. And I'm gonna swatch that right underneath. Ooh, okay, so that's a lot more chocolatey. Okay, so I would say these three definitely have the most difference between the three of them. So again, this is Yugo from Amrezy. This is Cypress Umber from Modern Renaissance. And I actually think this shade might be in another palette or two from them. This is one of their like popular shades. And then this is 1988. So I'd say you could definitely get away with having all these browns and not replacing one with the other. So I would say these would all serve different purposes. Next up, we've got the Soft Glam palette. You can also tell that this one is a little bit older, a little bit dirtier, a little bit more well-loved. So we've got Amrezy on top, Soft Glam on the bottom. Sorry, I'm trying really hard not to blind you with my ring light, but it's not working out so well. Now I will say again, you have a lot of those neutral warm tone mattes that look the same, but as I was just mentioning before that I thought that Cypress Umber was in another palette, so the Soft Glam palette actually has two colors from the Modern Renaissance palette in it. So it's got Burnt Orange right here and it's got Cypress Umber right here. So I am not going to swatch those again, obviously, because we just did them and we know which shades they're similar to in the Amrezy palette. All right, so first we have Noir from the Soft Glam palette. And then we've got BK from the Amrezy palette right here. I mean, yeah, they look exactly the same. They're both black. I don't really know how much of a difference there would really be with those. And next up, I'm gonna take Rose Pink from the Soft Glam palette. Oh, that's pretty. Love that. And then we're gonna take Anastasia from the Amrezy palette. Ooh. Ooh, okay. I mean, definitely different. Definitely different. Oh my gosh, wow, that shade is so pretty. Okay, I would say this definitely looks like more of a corally orangey pink, and this one is a really pretty Barbie pink with like a gold shift to it. So again, I would say that those two are different enough where you can get away with having both. Okay, there's actually three more shades that I want to compare between these two palettes. So I am going to take Bronze from the Soft Glam palette, put that in the middle, and then I want to take Gorgina from the Amrezy palette and Dragon from the Amrezy palette. Just for fun, because these are kind of like the bronzy neutral shimmers in the palette. So just for fun, I didn't think that any of these look the same side by side. So all really pretty bronzy coppery shimmers. Right. Next up we have the Sultry palette. This is another one that I just hold so near and dear to my heart. I freaking love this palette. So again, we do have another repeat shade. So Noir is the same black from the Soft Glam palette, so we're not going to compare those again. So first taking Dystopian from the Sultry palette. All right, and then I'm going to take Yugo again from the Anastasia palette and compare those. So again, not too similar. This is definitely more of just like a neutral brown, and this one pulls a lot more purple. Next up, I'm gonna swatch Rose Quartz from the Sultry palette. Oh, I just love that. So pretty. And then I'm going to take Anastasia again from the Amrezy palette. All right. So there you go. And again, I would say that those are pretty different. Rose Quartz, definitely a little bit more of that true rose gold color. Anastasia, definitely a little bit more playful. It's more of that, again, Barbie pink with a gold shift. And then next up, I'm gonna take that shade Gorgina from the Amrezy palette. I'm gonna put her right in the middle so that we can compare that to some of the sultry shades. So first, I'm gonna take Ember from the Sultry palette, right there. Then I'm going to take Teak from the Sultry palette, put that on top here. Okay, so those are definitely a lot more similar. They have just kind of like the same undertone. I feel like my swatches are getting worse and worse as I'm doing this. Sorry, guys. So again, that's Gorgina from Amrezy and then Teak from the Sultry palette. So those are definitely a lot more similar. And then lastly, I do want to swatch Cinder as well from the Sultry palette. There. So I would definitely say these two, Teak and Cinder from the Sultry palette, are very similar to the shade from the Amrezy palette. I think that this is still a little bit darker than these two. So this one is definitely way darker and a little bit more cool toned or neutral, I would say, than this one. But as you go this way, I would say these two are the most similar, and then this one is just a hair lighter. Okay, moving on, we now have the Riviera palette from Anastasia. This one came out last spring. It's got a lot more color in it, and it's not, honestly, I don't use this too often at all. I definitely should. But if we start to compare these two, I definitely see a lot of similarities, like especially in the browns. You've got some of the pinks that are similar. The pop of like the blue here is similar to this blue. So I definitely want to go ahead and compare a few of these. So first let's do the browns. So this is Palm from the Riviera palette. Ooh, that looks a little purpley too. So I'm actually gonna compare this. I didn't think it looked that purpley in the pan, but it looks like it's got a little bit more of like a purple or a reddish tint to it. So I'm actually gonna compare it to both of the browns in the Amrezy palette. So let's do You Go First. You go first. You go first, I'll go second. So there is You Go from the Amrezy palette. I don't know if I'm like drying these out from swatching them too much, but my swatches are getting terrible. And then let's do 1988. I'm gonna do that above because I'm just curious. Okay. So I honestly would say that if you mixed this color and this color together, you would get this color. So if you mix the two browns from the Amrezy palette, I think it would make a very similar color to this color Palm from the Riviera palette. So they're all definitely different, but yeah. This is a really nice brown. Next up, I want to compare some of the pinks. So I am going to do, there's actually a lot. So let's do the shimmery pinks first. So there is one shimmery pink in the Riviera palette. It's called Palermo. And I'm gonna put that here. So I would say the closest one to this in the Amrezy palette would definitely be this shade Reezy right here, which is just like that bright magenta. Yeah, that is a pink. So this one definitely a lot brighter. This one a little bit more corally, a little bit more of a muted pink. And then we've also got Barb from the Amrezy palette, which I'm pumped about. That is gorgeous. That definitely reminds me of one of the shades in the Carly Bible palette, which we'll get to. And just for fun, let's put Anastasia in there, even though we've already swatched her a bunch of times. There we go, just for fun. So there are the pinks. So I would say they're all pretty different. Definitely complementary. Like I feel like these two palettes definitely complement each other if you use them together. Next up, I'm gonna do the matte pinks. So I'm gonna take the shade Semza from the Amrezy palette first. I'm gonna put that in the middle so you guys can see. These ones definitely, you can tell that they're different, but I just wanna show them side by side anyway. So then I'm gonna take Bahamas from the Riviera palette, which is a bright, bright pink. Like, I feel like that would go really well with that Reezy shade that we just swatched. And then we've got Monte Carlo from the Riviera palette, which is a lighter matte pink. So again, I'd say they're all pretty different, but definitely complementary to each other. Like, you could definitely use these two palettes together if you wanted to do a really fun, colorful look. All right, so there's a few more shades that I want to compare side by side with these palettes. So first, I want to compare the blues together, those bright blues. So I'm going to take Leo from the Amrezy palette. Wow, holy crap, beautiful. And then I'm going to take this shade right here from the Riviera palette, Seashells. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be seashells or Seychelles, but there you go. So definitely similar. This, I would say, is a little bit brighter. This one's just a little bit more aqua. This is like this one has a little bit more of a green shift to it. Then we've got some more purple toned shimmers. So I am going to take Cupcake from the Amrezy palette. So fun. And then in the Riviera palette, we've got the shade Seaside. So you can see a lot more periwinkle, not as pink of a purple. And then we've got the shade Mediterranean, also from the Riviera palette, which is a little bit more blue. All of these shades are so pretty though. Like this entire row is so fun if you love color. There's actually just 2 more shades that I want to swatch from these 2 palettes and then we'll move on. So I'm gonna take that Gorgina color again. Put her down here, and then I'm gonna take the shade Yacht from the Riviera palette just to see how they compare. Okay, so you can see definitely not the same. This one a lot deeper, this one a lot lighter, but again, very complementary to each other. I feel like these 2 shades would go really well together on the lid. All right, you guys, we are in the home stretch. So next up, I've got the Jackie Aina palette, and here they are side by side. So let's take a look. So I would say definitely we've got some purples that we can compare. We've got some pinks that we can compare. Yeah, we've got some swatches. We've got some swatches to do with these. So first up, I'm gonna compare the pinks and the purples. So I'm gonna take Cupcake from the Amrezy palette. Swatch that up top here. And we're gonna compare that to Shookington from the Jackie Aina palette. So definitely not the same. And now I want to do some of the pink and purple mattes. So again, I'm gonna take Semza from the Amrezy palette. Swatch her right here. Oh, I'm getting like, and you know what it is? I'm getting makeup remover all over my fingers as I'm like wiping off my arm, and I think I'm messing myself up a little bit with that. And then I'm going to take the shade Pinker and put that right underneath from the Jackie Aina palette. So Pinker, like this is a little bit more magenta. This one's a little bit more of a muted pink. And then we've got Supreme from the Jackie Aina palette, which is a little bit of a lighter pink, but just for fun, we're gonna swatch it here as well. So again, very complementary colors. I would say that these 2 palettes definitely complement each other well as well. Then let's swatch some of the matte browns together. So I'm going to take Ginger from the Jackie Aina palette. Ooh, that's pretty. I like that. And I'm gonna take OG and New Yorker from the Amrezy palette because I think they would be the most similar. So there is OG and there is New Yorker, so all similar. I would say, yeah, I would say that OG is definitely closer to Ginger. Then I definitely want to swatch the darker browns as well, so I'm taking Credit from the Jackie Aina palette right here. And again, that looks a little bit more of like a purpley reddish brown. So let's swatch Yugo. I'm definitely messing this up because I have so much makeup remover. I'm gonna have to like scrape those. And 1988. Yeah, I would say that Credit and Yugo are a lot more similar, but again, slightly different. This Yugo one from the Amrezy palette definitely pulls the most purple to me. And last but not least, just because we're doing it, I'm gonna take Gorgina one more time, and then I'm gonna take Lituation from the Jackie Aina palette, which is such a fun name, and I'm gonna swatch that next to each other. Yeah, so Gorgina is a lot more of a, it's a lot warmer, I think, and Lituation is a lot more of a cool tone brown. All right, you guys, and last up we have the Carli Bybel palette, which I think is so pretty. Kind of goes with the colors in my room. This one is a lot more of like, there's a lot more lighter colors in here. It's a lot more ethereal feeling, I think. And here is what these 2 look like side by side. So first up, I'm gonna I'm almost done. So first up, I'm gonna take the shade Bali from the Carli Bybel palette, and this is really light, so I don't know that it'll even show up really well, but I wanna compare that to the shade Wasted from the Amrezy palette. Okay, so this one definitely has a lot, you can't see because I'm very fair and these colors are very fair, but this one is definitely has a lot more shimmer to it. This one has a lot more matte to it. So those 2 are definitely different, I would say. Next up, we've got the shade Chai from the Carli Bybel palette, which I think looks pretty similar to OG from the Amrezy palette. So, okay, again, not quite the same. This one's a little bit more orangey. This one's a little bit more of like a neutral brownie color. Next up, I want to do the shade Mandala from the Carli Bybel palette, which just kind of gives you like that purple unicorn vibe there. And I'm gonna put that in the middle, and then I want to take the shade Barb from the Amrezy palette and put her here. Yeah, so I feel like these colors are sisters. Barb is a little bit more glittery. You can see how like these just, I feel like these just kind of look like pink and purple versions of each other. This one's got like a pink, kind of like a greeny gold champagne shift, and then this one is purple with like a blue pink shift there. A little bit of green too, I would say. So those are fun. Next up, I want to swatch a few more of the shimmers together. So I'm going to take Cupcake from the Amrezy palette, and again, I'm going to put that in the middle. Such a pretty color. Oh my gosh, I love it. And then I'm going to take Jody from the Carli Bybel palette. I'm gonna put that one on top, so that's a lot more blue. And I'm gonna take the shade OA, also from the Carli Bybel palette. Pretty. This one's got like a lot more glitter in it, which I really like. And then let's do some of the pinks. So let's take Aura from the Carli Bybel palette. Put her here. And then let's do Anastasia next to her. And let's do Reezy again, just for fun. I really am seeing how like, oops, I forgot to wipe my finger off, but I'm really seeing how complementary all of these palettes are together. Like if you're someone like me that likes to collect the palettes, I am really inspired to kind of like break out a few of them at a time and see what I can come up with all these colors. And then let's, just for fun, take My Angels from the Carli Bybel palette. I'm gonna swatch that down here. That's such a pretty, like almost green gold. And then I want to compare that to Dragon. Definitely a lot more of a coppery gold. Super pretty. And then let's take, so there's two pressed glitters in the Amrezy palette. And I want to swatch those just because I haven't already. That's gorgeous. So that's the glitter Gemini. Super fun. I feel like this would go really well with this. And then we've got Liddy, which I love. Oh my gosh, I'm running out of arm space. So pretty. So a lot more of a pinky glitter. I could definitely see this going with like Anastasia, or what's this one? Aura up here. So lots of fun colors. All right, you guys, so there you have it with all of the swatches from all the different Anastasia eyeshadow palettes that I have personally in my collection. So I hope that was fun. I had a lot of fun swatching all of those colors together, and like I was saying, like I'm definitely inspired to break out a lot of these palettes together and see how they can be used together and how the colors complement each other and everything like that. So that part was really fun for me. So to answer the question of this video, which is, do you need to get this palette if you already have other Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes? So I'll give you my idea personally. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this is my favorite eyeshadow formula time and time again. I absolutely love every single palette that they come out with. So for me, as a collector's item, I feel like it's worth it. I definitely think, as I've said throughout the video, that the colors in this palette can definitely be complemented very well by colors in some of the other palettes that I have. So I'm glad I picked this up. Seeing it in person, I definitely think it's more exciting to look at in person than it is to see in pictures. So I personally am glad I picked it up. I definitely see myself using this, and I'm excited to film a tutorial or two with this palette, kind of testing it out on the eyes. But that being said, I feel like if you're not somebody like me that has a million different eyeshadow palettes, or if you're not somebody that's like obsessed with the Anastasia formula, and you have some of these other palettes, especially if you have some neutral and some of the more colorful palettes, I don't think that you necessarily need, I mean, do we all need more than like one or two eyeshadow palettes? No, probably not. But let me know your thoughts. Did you pick up this palette? Do you have these other palettes? Are you going to use them together? Do you think it's worth it? Do you think it's not? Let me know all of that in the comments below. You know what to do. So So with that, that is going to be it for today's video. Thank you guys, as always, so much for sticking around and watching my videos if you've made it this far. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe if you have not already, and you can also follow me on Instagram. I am at DevDevGregs. I will have all of these palettes linked below in case you're interested in purchasing them for yourself, and I will see you in the next video. Mwah. Love you. Bye.